Hello, I'm Jelelle Awen, and this is day 21 of 33 in this series called Deepen. And today it seems appropriate. We're recovering in a good way. We're letting in the codes from last night's lunar eclipse and to go into the starseed aspect of our being and also star family. So as we're taking in this celestial and cosmic energies, I definitely felt my starseed just looking at the moon with this kind of longing last night, wanting to return to space and to star family. So I wanted to talk about how I feel the starseed energy connects to the parts process that I've been introducing you to, and to emotional body healing, and to the overall awakening process. What I've discovered for myself over the years as I've worked with my inner child and healed her hurts and her pains and her experience of this life, that she started to shift into and transform into more of what I started calling a starseed child. So starseed is a pretty common term out there in spirituality. I'm using it specifically to describe an energy that starts to emerge as our inner child unanchors from 3D birth family connections and traumas and begins to vibrate higher. So moving out of the shyness and out of the hurt and out of the sadness, the inner child becomes more of that pure starseed frequency, which is essentially our star being DNA, our galactic consciousness, which is so woven in with so many different galactic species, and you probably have some sense of your lineage around that. And if you don't, I'm hopeful that today may start to open that out for you. So people that come to me for sessions seem to be in a range of consciousness around their starseed origins. Some are very aware and communicate quite directly with their star family, channel some of the energies of their star family, are aware of the visits that they've had this life. Others are somewhat aware, they suspect, and there's this longing to connect again with star family. And then others, it's really still quite shrouded or foggy. The veil just hasn't lifted on that remembering yet. But what I find is that also corresponds how much you can remember or recall seems to correspond to the woundedness frequency of your inner child. Meaning, the more the inner child is still anchored in pain, is still, I talk about these traumatic scenes or memories that they and the inner teenager can loop in and remain kind of stuck in. The more they're in that place, the more locked down they are in that place, the more difficult it can be to connect with star family again, and this much deeper unity consciousness resource that is available to them. And in this state too, the feelings of abandonment can be very strong. So this also is, I used to attribute that feeling of abandonment that so many of parts of us have to the alienation of being in a 3D family, just not feeling like you belong. But the more I explored it in myself and with others, I really feel this feeling of abandonment connects very directly to star family. You know, star family is my way of saying it. Really, it speaks to this feeling of being completely unified in family, being so resonant, telepathic, not needing words, not needing to explain yourself. I've had feeling tones experience of this as I connect with my star family. And as I do that, the DNA activates inside of me from their consciousness. And it just waters that inner child that never felt like they belonged in their birth family. So sometimes your birth family is soul family, is also a lineage of star family, of course. It's just that the agreement, which I talked about in one of my videos, the agreement between you was they were going to remain in a 3D consciousness and not awaken, perhaps beyond that this life. We all get that choice. What's the spectrum of our awakening going to be? And if you're watching this video, my guess is your agreement is that you want to continue to awaken, to remember, and to lift the veil. And the star family piece is a big one that begins to lift. Really, the doorway in is the feeling of abandonment, but also often if people describe to me having terror or panic attacks when they were children, that usually is a doorway in as well. And it's not a very pleasant doorway, obviously, so the protector doesn't really want you to go there. Some people say to me, I can't remember really anything around why I was so terrified, I just was. Or some people can't remember hardly anything about their childhood. And that's not a matter of memory, actually, or the mind. That's a matter of the emotional body and the part of you that is protecting you from going there, because it's concerned how that will feel to this precious starseed or inner child that it's trying so hard to protect, that experienced the terror in the first place, that the protector couldn't do anything about at that time. So the doorway in, this is how I like to see pain, not as something to be avoided, but actually as a portal. And if you start to see your pain as a portal, it really shifts it from being something that you're suffering around to something that offers this beautiful opportunity to understand yourself. Because pain doesn't come for no reason. It always has a reason. It always has a source. And you can discover that source and love it. And in doing that, the pain will move. So the portal here in the starseed exploration is around the trauma of abandonment, feeling like an alien, literally, and also this terror that I'm talking about, this panic. Those are the doorways, and if you experience those, my sense is that you probably had star family visits during your childhood and maybe even moving into teenagehood. And I don't use usually the word abduction because we have so much association with that being against our will. But really, star family visits are about acknowledging our agreement before we came into our bodies that we were going to visit with our star family. The star family range can be a gray species that is almost more AI or robotic feeling, and that's why it can feel like they have no feelings towards you, all the way to Arcturian, Pleiadian, Sirian. There was a period of a phase of time, it seems, particularly in the early 70s to the late 80s, where a lot of visits were going on, conducted by the Greys and also a race called the Zetas. These are all things I've recalled with my star family. And during that phase of visits, there was quite a scientific energy about them. There was a lot of investigating the physical body. And that was very confusing for our inner children. What is hard for them to understand is that anything could be done against your will. Because to them, our star family, everything is in a state of agreement and unity consciousness. So they don't really get our terror and our feeling like we're being taken from our families or something done to our bodies against our will. In their way of seeing it, we agreed to this before we came into this body. So there's this disconnect there, and I think that's one of the biggest things that causes pain, is that disconnect. Not only that, even for people who had really magical, wonderful experiences of visits with their star family, and this can be about flying through the light ships or visiting other planets and dimensions, Or sometimes the ships serve as arks, so they're just packed full of animals that they're actually trying to save. I've been offered that no animal is actually extinct. They have collected the ones that no longer are viable here on Gaia and are storing them and keeping them safe. So those kinds of experiences can be incredible as a child to take in and digest, and then we're dropped back into our 3D reality and our 3D life and whatever age consciousness we're at that time. That drop in, and then the veil of amnesia that comes over us by our choice, by our protector's choice, but also some star being tech that they use. It's actually that I find has been so painful for people to process, because you have no means of consciously digesting what you just went through when you're visiting with your star family, how your heart opens. If you move beyond the terror and this is going on against my will, then your heart opens, your soul expands, and you remember who you are. And you remember that you can never actually be alone, that this family, this galactic family, is surrounding you at all times and completely connected to the mission that you are undergoing here on Gaia, that you so bravely agreed to take out and undergo. You remember that, and then you don't remember. And then you're back in a 3D world, in a 3D family that doesn't see any of those things about you. And I feel that leaks through our consciousness to me, and what I've connected it to, that is the terror or the panic or the trauma, or that just deep feeling, I do not belong here. That extends absolutely into adulthood, because the body ages, but this consciousness stays, this part stays at that age in those traumatic frequencies. So in working with the starseed child, what we're doing is acknowledging, no, yes, you were right, you are that big, and that is your family, and we begin the process of reconnecting them to star family. The inner child needs to have moved out of enough 3D birth family, needs to have let go of enough 3D birth family anchoring to allow the starseed essence inside of itself to emerge. So that can be a process. Sometimes it's working with the inner child for a while until it can let go and remember and start to remember the galactic family again. As you do that, as the starseed starts opening out, it becomes, I've talked about this before, but it actually becomes the seat of your light body vehicle. It becomes the fuel to experience your galactic family again, which so many people ache for. But this part has to be felt, and all that terror, panic, alienation, isolation, digested. I think the point I was making that I drifted off of was that those feelings extend into adulthood if not digested, and they express as this sense of no one getting you, perhaps that lone wolf phase that I've been talking about, where there aren't really intimates in your life or world. The roots of that often go back to this starseed piece. They can also come from other timelines too, of course. But a lot of those other timelines are galactic. So we don't always think about it that way, but a lot of them are. So they're still the same origins here, or source. The wonderful thing about the starseed energy is how much magic and possibility and joy it has just being here on Gaia. That's what really starts to unfold. So it has the connection with star family, so it feels really supported. This is how my starseed Aurora feels, very supported by star family. She can go visit Kismet, who's her mantis father, and her mantis mother, and all the galactic metasouls that I've met. And she can go play with the ferns at the park and find them totally magical at the same time. So there's a bridge instead of a fog and a not remembering and a feeling of being disconnected. So we're actually meant to connect with Star Family. And the more we do that, the more we can actually land here. So it doesn't make us drift out or transcend or bypass anything if we're coming from the heart of our star seed and not using galactic energies to not be here, which I do think some people do. And really that's our mission, is that integration. And to allow the starseed frequencies is what allows us to ascend. So, as you're digesting all of that, we will see what happens today as we connect with your starseed and see if any star family frequencies come through. As always, whatever happens today is what's right to happen. You may feel a rumble of your inner child today too, and some of the things I've been talking about with birth family. So, I do want to mention there's a bit of rumble outside of some street construction going on, so I hope it's not too distracting, and you're welcome to play your own music as well if you'd like to. So go ahead and close your eyes. Start to focus on your breath and your inner world. Bring in some pure white light. Maybe bring in some of that lunar eclipse energy if it's still in your field. Flow it through from the top of your head all the way down to your feet, down to the roots of Gaia. We want to remain connected to Gaia as we explore the stars. I'm seeing Metatron as our sacred masculine guide. He's a wonderful bridge to galactic consciousness, particularly through sacred geometry, which is sort of a universal language, galactic language, that's used through many galaxies. And Goddess Sophia, who is actually shape-shifting a bit into looking more like an Arcturian today. And that wisdom of the Arcturians. We're going to start walking down the path toward your castle. It's a starry night sky. Take in your castle for a moment, which, as I've been offering, represents your essence. Maybe it looks a bit different today as we start to connect with galactic consciousness. Maybe it's even starting to look like a light ship. And we're going to ask your protector to come out. He is usually a he. They are the guardian of the castle, of your essence. I offer a video in day 2 to connect with them. Invite them to come out now. You may see them wearing armor, carrying a weapon. I don't know. Protectors are sort of showing me this picture of them wearing a spacesuit today, so maybe yours shows up in a spacesuit. Some of them have quite a sense of humor, so they're not just serious. Your protector may feel uncomfortable with the exploration of Star Family, and that's okay, especially if it's brand new to you, or you're just starting to explore this and investigate it. So take in the moment anything they want to say to you about your Star Family or connecting with your star seed. Reassure them that you have a lot of support today. Metatron, Sophia, me, and even the souls that are doing these videos. There's kind of a conscious community forming in that, as we're all one ultimately. Ask your protector to show you where your starseed is, your starseed child, and to connect with them. You may immediately see what you've come to know as your inner child. You may see a new part. Maybe human, maybe not. Maybe something else. Your protector may be reluctant to make this connection. Find out why, if they are. As you take in your starseed child, just let in what they look like, what they feel like. They might feel quite lonely or isolated, or even in some trauma. They might be kind of sleepy, like they're just waking up. They might be quite buoyant and joyful. Feel your heart space open up to your starseed, creating a bridge of love from you to them. And ask them if there's a name that they'd like to go by. And take a moment to feel into that name, receive that name. Might take them a little bit to find one. Ask them what their world has been like, what it's been like for them. They may more show you than tell you. They may run into your arms for comfort. There's such a range of experience here. As you connect with your starseed, start to open up to the environment around you. As you make this galactic connection, excuse me, you might see a starship sitting, a light ship sitting on the grass in front of your castle. Maybe you didn't notice it before, but it's there now. It could look like a light ship from a movie, or be very different than anything you've seen. Take in that light ship with your starseed child and your protector. Just feel if any reactions come up. I have found that it is this simple to connect to Star Family as you've felt and connected to your starseed child, who is the doorway. Simple meaning the visualization is simple, but the feeling might be quite complex. A range of feelings. You can invite in this moment any star family of yours that would like to come out of the ship and meet you. They will do that if they feel you're ready. They want to meet you halfway, not scare any parts of you. So you may not see any today, and that's okay. Or if you're already connected galactically, you might see some of the beloved guides that you already work with. If one of them or a few of them come forward, you might pause the video now and just communicate with them and ask them questions and connect as you're feeling your starseed and your protector in that. And I'm going to invite the rest of us to Say goodbye now to your starseed. Invite them to connect with you again in the future, to come into your world and your consciousness, and that they are not alone. That you are there for them. Say goodbye now to your protector, who allowed this exploration to happen. And go ahead and open your eyes. So this may have been a beginning journey for you, and you may have had a range of experiences with that. I recommend going back to this one and opening out this exploration. If you felt a lot of feeling or just kind of a fog, I can also recommend a session with myself or another Soulful Heart facilitator to help you start to open this out. Sometimes it can be really helpful to have us there with you to feel what's coming up and make connections for you, with you, really. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow.